Erik, welcome to Melbourne. You've been with the squad 3 weeks, I think, since you started training in Manchester, and then you've been over here for over a week now. Where do you think you are in terms of getting to know the players and also in the process of getting ready for that first game against Brighton on the 7th of August?
Yeah, that is difficult to say. To know players in 3 weeks, I think is impossible. You have to work longer with the players, but of course I have a first impression and from the squad, from their football, from the capabilities, and that is more, of course, than for the season. And of course, I have also now an impression from the personality of the players.
People inevitably focus on the big stars at Manchester United. There is none bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo, and I know you've been asked about him twice already on this trip. Do you know when you're going to be able to speak to him? Do you know when you're going to get any kind of clarity over when he's going to come to training? You said before that you want him in your team.
Clear, he's not for sale. I planned with him and I'm looking forward to work with him. But for the rest, I cannot say anymore because the situation is still the same as last week.
In terms of the recruitment, you've brought in players already. You're clearly shaping the squad in the way that you want to do it. But it's been quite clear that you've been looking for a midfield addition. We know all about Frenkie de Jong and the attempts to try and get him. How key is that signing, whether it's de Jong or anybody else? How key will that be in terms of creating the team that you want?
I think we have already good midfield players. That first, and with Christian Eriksen as the signing, I'm really happy, and he will strengthen the midfield. But that kind of the type of player, what you describe, I think it's necessary in the squad. And of course, we have players who can fill it in, and we will do it if we cannot find the right player, and then we will develop a player in that position.
We've heard a lot about your desire to play a high press. You mentioned it in a previous press conference. Ralf Rangnick tried to implement that and it just didn't work. Why will it work for you?
I cannot talk about what is in the past. I know only I have my ideas, how I bring structure in the team, and I do it in every topic of football. And yeah, for me, pressing, it's an important factor. It's if you want to have initiative in a game, and then I think it's necessary. And if you do that in a high block or in a low block, that is a tactic, and that can be in both ways. I prefer to do it in a high way, in a high pressing, but that will be not always the case. There's also situations, games that you are lower. But what I demand from my team is that they press.
We've been to a Patrick Vieira press conference this morning, and he spoke about his belief that Manchester United will be challenging for the top four, will be challenging for the Premier League title. That involves clearly battling against Liverpool and Manchester City. Do you believe in your heart of hearts that that is something that this team is capable of? Is that a realistic aim for Manchester United this year?
No, but has to be the aim is we want to win every game, and doesn't matter who the opponent is. I think that belongs to the status of Manchester United, and that is what we will do, and that will be the demand of the squad and of every player.
Erik, so far you've signed Christian Eriksen and a deal has been agreed with Ajax for Lisandro Martinez. Firstly, with Eriksen, where do you see him being deployed? Obviously, he's quite a versatile midfielder. And with Lisandro Martinez, what will he bring to the side? And I guess you're looking forward to working with him again.
Yeah, I think Christian Eriksen, he brings the creativity in the squad, and he will play in the offensive midfield. I think also play in a lower position. I think he's really experienced, from different leagues, Italy, Holland, and especially I think England. So he will bring a lot to the team in that fact, in our way in possession, but I think also out of possession. And Martinez, yeah, that's a player who I call it is a warrior. He will bring aggressiveness, and yeah, it's a South America grinta, and he will not contribute to the team. And I think the fans will love it.
This might sound silly, but people have mentioned his height. Do you think he'll be able to cope with the physicality of the Premier League, Lisandro?
He's a strong guy, and duels is one of his capabilities, and also his motivation is really high, and he will bring that motivation also in the team.
We've obviously seen a lot of young players on this trip, and this club is built on young talent, but there are obviously the need for more signings, I'm guessing. So how do you balance those two, and are there any players that have caught your eye that perhaps you weren't as aware of before you joined the club?
No, the most of those players I didn't know, and therefore it's the pre-season and especially this tour, and then you get them to know, and I have a good impression from them, and of course when they are good enough I will play them, and despite their age, it doesn't matter, and it's about always the question about how good you are.
As a coach, how many players do you like to work with in a squad? Obviously there's going to be a lot of demands on the team with this being a year unlike any other, with the World Cup in the winter, with the Europa League. How big a squad do you like to work with first team players?
Yeah, you mentioned two facts, and there's quite important. That's first Europa League, and then you have to notice that you play on Thursday, and then in the weekend already the Premier League came, so that is always a massive impact on the team. So we need in that fact players, and also the World Cup will also have a really huge impact on the team, but that is for many teams in the Premier League. Is that the same?
Final two questions for me. You obviously achieved a lot at Ajax, and it was a big move to leave them, even if Manchester United are such a big club themselves. What due diligence did you do to make sure that you were arriving in somewhere that you felt you could progress?
That is, of course, that is Manchester United is a big name, and it was for me it's a real challenge, and to get them again, restore there where they belong, and I'm highly motivated to get that done.
And finally, you will have been aware when you looked at the club from the outside that there is an amount of fan unrest and frustration with the ownership. That is an undercurrent that's been there for a while. Did you have to seek any assurances from the owners? Have you spoken to the Glazer family? What's your take on that situation?
Yes, I have spoken with them, and they told me they want to get success, and that is the only thing they want, and that is what they expect.